Du, 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 du.
This
Right.
is a big one because for me and my brother, playing Star Wars games from I think we started off on Age of Empires and games like that, but Star Wars Galactic Battlegrounds, which was the Star Wars version of Age of Empires, right there, Battlefront 1, Battlefront 2, you know, we grew up on playing quality, you know, quality story driven as well, you know, Star Wars games.
Exactly. So essentially, the EA have lost their exclusivity deal, and I felt so good about it. I got in touch with our meme editor, and I said, "Give me something that expresses my joy and my freedom of seeing something that I love being released back into the wild where it belongs." So this was put together for us, and it's wonderful because this is good news. This is really good news, and yeah, essentially, EA will keep making Star Wars games, but the exclusive deal will end, and other game creators will have the opportunity to make Star Wars games. This is so important because we like to idealize capitalism and say, oh, it's so wonderful, competition, competition. Then these big companies sign exclusive deals and remove all the competition. Look at Madden. Look at
the free market of, you know, ideas and competing. You know, there's no competition here, so they could get away with making shoddy games because where else are they gonna go? And
exactly,
and it annoyed because it would be, you know, oh yeah, the graphics are unbelievable, but there's no content there.
No.
There's
just
no,
like the movies, just like the movies.
Just like the movies. Nice to look at. Well, no, just like the sequel trilogy. We're huge fans of everything else. The sequel trilogy, you know, amazing. It's a high budget, cutting edge technology, CGI, all of that. Shit. So, you know, this really opens it up, and you know, and I will always go for, you know, more Star Wars games, more people looking at it, more people trying to be better than the other Star Wars games, because that's more likely going to give us something we want. And EA have a terrible record with just kind of all the franchises they get in their grasp. I mean,
they just destroy them. They just destroy them. That's what happens. They destroy. They are franchise destroyers, is what happens with EA. And because they sign exclusivity deals, it's the same thing. So, oh, well, where else are you going to go? You have to go here for your game. So let's look at what EA did with that license, which they got in 2013. So these are the sort of 4 big games they made over this time. And the first one was they rebooted Battlefront. Now, Battlefront is a game that Anton and I grew up with. We love 1 and 2. 1 and 2, we love them both to our core. They are amazing games.
Countless hours, countless.
I may have lost most of my youth to these games, you know, and to see when it was initially announced, I was like, oh, I know how bad EA is, but I was excited. And Battlefront came out, first one, and they were like, oh yeah, there's no campaign. It's like, what? No campaign in a Star Wars game? They're like, yeah, we didn't think you needed one. It was like, okay, so where's the content?
Galactic Conquest, none of that.
None of that. No Galactic Conquest, no campaign, no story mode, no nothing. Just, oh, well, basically
no lore, no cool, you know, nothing, no cutscenes, no story. Sorry, like you said,
essentially it was an MMO platform to play online, to game in groups, battling each other in set piece scenes in Star Wars, which was cool, but that's not a Star Wars game.
It's not what made the original ones so beloved.
No.
And it was like, okay, you can just make a Call of Duty, but in, you know, the skin of Star Wars, just like an online kind of platform. But that isn't, you know, but you're missing. That's just kind of the bonus on top of these games. You know what I mean? That is an aspect of it, but you're missing out on such a vast portion of what made the other games so good, man. Anyway, like you were saying, Battlefront 2.
Yeah, so Star Wars Battlefront 1, massively unpopular because it was essentially just an online.
The reviews, I remember seeing the reviews.
Yeah, it was horrendous.
Yeah.
It was awful. It was awful. So anyway, they said, oh, no, we've learned. So they made Battlefront 2. And they did make a campaign. It was about 4.5 hours long. It wasn't even that good. I played it. You're basically, it was cool. Their premise was cool. You're basically a special forces stormtrooper for the Empire.
Cool. Which is nice.
Which is awesome. That's a great concept.
Why do people stay within the Empire? You know, what, you know, do they believe, you know, I want to see the inner workings, because we just see them as kind of just plastic bad guys or whatever. Quite often.
Exactly. It was an awesome concept. And I was like, this is really cool. And then basically over the course of about 3.5 minutes, you go from being a sort of fanatical special forces Empire person to the most die-hard rebel and trusted by all the rebels. It's just like, oh, all right,
celebrate killing all the people you were fighting next to.
About 5 minutes to go.
And also 4 hours, that's laughable. You want?
Yeah, it might have been 5.
Come on now.
It might have been 5, but it was a laughable amount. The plot wasn't that good. It looked awesome, but again, looking good doesn't mean anything. And then what happened, unfortunately, with this one is EA was like, oh, well, we know we pissed them off with the first one, but you know what we're going to do with this one? We're going to stuff it to the gills with microtransactions. We are going to microtransaction the living shit out of this thing. And it got to the point, actually, where it was getting international attention. National governments were saying we need to regulate the gaming industry because of how irresponsible they're being with putting gambling and pay to win and exploitative mechanics, extracting hundreds or thousands of pounds from people in some cases, unknowingly or exploitatively. It was essentially, they created a gambling platform within Battlefront, and it was so bad, I think they ended up having to tear it out eventually because they couldn't justify keeping it, because they were opening themselves up to legal action, and they were opening themselves up to actually legislation at domestic government level.
And it's just like, just make a good game, and
people will pay for it.
Yeah, top dollar. But they couldn't do that. They gave us bare bones once again. Story mode, but small. And then putting all these other things in place that nobody wants. That isn't the essence of what it was all about. But anyway, then it was followed by, I think Jedi Order came out first.
Jedi Fallen Order, yeah.
Jedi Fallen Order, and then Squadrons, which are, better, steps in the right direction, more of what we want. I remember Squadrons did get a lot of good reviews for their cool kind of, air battle scenes and all that. And it kind of went back to kind of that retro TIE Fighter game that came out in the 90s or something like that. So, and we're like, yes, this is what people want. People want to play this kind of shit. And now they laud that, I think, in their press release where they talked about their exclusive rights coming to, and they're like, we made quality games like Fallen Order, like Squadrons, and without putting in that these games were only ever made due to the public pressure they came under through Star Wars fans, just demolishing the two Battlefronts they came out with.
Yeah.
And so they had their they were pushed to make these games, and they talk about how they're some of their greatest achievements. It's like, no, you only came up with these games because of the abject failures of the last two.
Yeah. So, no.
We can't forget that. We can't forget that it was due to the pressure of Star Wars fans that games like Squadrons and Jedi Fallen Order, which aren't amazing games.
No.
Right?
But they're better. Good. They're good.
They're good. And that is the benchmark of what we want.
This is the thing. EA shat the bed twice in a row, massively, then got massive backlash and was basically embarrassed into making some decent games, and then wanted to take credit for it. That's essentially what happened. They were like, oh, look how good we are doing that thing that you forced us to do because of our previous work being so awful. And that's that, you can't take credit for that. And that's part of the reason why Disney removed the license. And it's good that they did, because I don't like Ubisoft. I don't like some of these companies. I don't like Ubisoft. I don't like some of these companies, but at least it's competition, and we'll see what's made from it. And hopefully we, the fans, will benefit from that and actually get some good games that are worth playing, that aren't exploitative, that aren't just massive cash grabs using the Star Wars license. Because EA basically said, right, we're just going to cash in on Star Wars and exploit people, because we know if we slap Star Wars on it, there's a massive fan base out there that will buy it no matter what, because we're fans. And maybe it's our fault, but we are fans. We love Star Wars, and you're going to exploit us for it, and we're probably going to go along with it. But it's not on.
Exactly. It's not on, and you know, I'm glad Disney's actually repealed that.
Yeah,
because
fair play
as
to
bad
Disney.
as Disney has been, they might have been listening to their fans a little bit for the first time in a few years.
Yeah.
But you know, good decision, Disney. You know, kudos, well done.